All right, and we're live, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode where today we're going to be talking about Destined Rivals and how it's destined to fail. What? That's craziness. Dude, is the set garbage or is it just like economic weakness? Who knows? We're going to have to talk about it though on today's video. But before we do, make sure you leave a like, comment down below, subscribe, really helps the YouTube channel, of course. Check out Alex's stream and his content. Link is down in the description below to be a part of that. And then lastly, if you want to stay up to date on all things Pokemon USA, we make general announcements there and or of course update people regarding when we've got spots available for the wholesale program. So you can message me there through our private Discord. But Alex, how we feeling, good sir?
Feeling good, man. We're always feeling good.
Yeah, buddy. It's going to be a good one. I'm excited to see what kind of the response is going to be on this video. Obviously, you know, since we talked about it on last stream, we saw prices come down from 400 to 275. So you're obviously seeing a shift just in the overall price of the set itself. You know, everyone always loves to jump the gun on the just general leaks for the set. The box, I will say, though, has gone a little bit back up again. It's back at 320. So it's kind of like a weird time where you're like, all right, what's going to happen with Destin? And it just kind of feels like a situation where there's so much pressure that's put on this set. It's almost like, as weird as it is to say this, like a make or break set for the momentum of the hobby.
Yeah, I think we've reached like these price points that are so unrealistic, but because we've seen sets now like sit at these price points, everyone sees them as like almost like the new norm. And so as soon as like, you know, sets end up breaking the new norms, people are gonna, you know, see it as like a collapse or like the hobby is doing, you know, terrible or something. It's just like, let's just say the set after Destin gets to like, you know, MSRP or 180. People are gonna see that as like, see, the market's doing terrible. They're no longer $200 a box again. It's just like, I can't even remember a time since I've been in the hobby where a box comes out over MSRP. And now every single box does. And so it's just like, we have so much further to go down for things to still be doing extremely well, very normal, nothing to worry about. But, you know, anyone who wants to see the negative can look at data points and be like, well, you know, Destined Rivals, it's less than it was earlier in pre-release. Journey Together, it's less than it was at release. Like, and try to like form these opinions on how everything's slowing down and everything's crap. And it's just like, you can just look at data two different ways. And I just don't see it right now. I think it's going to be strong. I know there was like leaks come out with Destined Rivals. No one liked them. Then like the new leaks came out with the Mewtwo and everything. Now everyone's back on board. It's just this emotional response to everything right now, man.
Yeah, it definitely feels like a roller coaster for sure. Because at this point, obviously, we just had all of the leaks revealed. We know the set's going to come out near the end of next month for English. And so we're like right around the corner of like peak buildup before the set gets released after, you know, everything's been revealed. So personally speaking, I feel as if the set will really, as much as I hate to say this, come down to the supply issue at hand. Like that's just my personal opinion, because I mean, you've seen multiple people come out and talk about how they anticipate their allocations are not going to be significantly better compared to Journey or some of the older sets. And so who knows what's ultimately going to be the play when it comes to what Pokemon decides to do. But I could easily see this be a set where it kind of hangs out where we are, or maybe it goes up a little bit. And then you see like a slight correction after the release, kind of what you're seeing with Journey. And now a lot of people are, of course, going to probably make the argument and say, well, Journey is an easy pull rate set, and it's really easy to get all the top hits since there aren't that many. And I think that's to a certain extent a valid argument. I guess it's just tough to know at this point how well the set will be received, because we don't know what the pull rates are going to be. We don't know how easy it's going to be to collect certain cards, et cetera, and get the chase. So there's still a lot to be kind of answered.
No, it's a legitimate argument, dude. I don't really know about Destin yet. Like, I don't know if they've released any of those like exact amount of SIRs or IRs or any of that stuff. So I could be wrong, but I don't think we know that yet. And so once we know exactly how many SIRs and exactly what the pull rates are, and then get an idea of what the supply is going to look like in terms of what, you know, Journey and Surging and all those sets were, and the availability, I think then we'll be able to make more of an accurate like prediction. Right now, it's just all this emotional. I made a video today. I just released like it feels like futures trading. We're just like trading futures like you do in the stock market. It's like there's no actual tangible items right now. No one's got their hands on the stuff. No one even knows the real data on everything. The information's not even out yet. And people are just like emotionally trading dollars based on like rumors or leaks or what they feel is going to happen. And it's kind of a crazy market we've created. You know?
Yeah, it's very volatile, honestly. Like that's kind of it. Like, have you seen the cards? I'm just curious.
Yeah, I seen that Mewtwo card, and I seen some of like the lackluster ones. Someone did a TikTok. Actually, shout out Robo Skills. I saw a Robo Skills TikTok, and he kind of went through like all the leaks and like yeah. I mean, obviously, I'm in the same boat. Like a lot of the Pokemon are lackluster. It didn't make sense. Like I agree, but then I saw the Mewtwo card. I saw like the Mewtwo King card. I like a lot of them, and so it all has to do with what the pull rates are, how big the set is, how hard it is to actually pull all the cards. Because obviously the hits are going to be better than a Lily's Clefairy and Enzoroark. So we already have a leg up there. It's going to be a bigger set. That's a leg up. If the pull rates are maybe a little harder too, that could be a third leg up. I mean, I can't see a world where this set isn't more than Journey. So if it does settle somewhere, it's got to probably settle more than 215, 210 like Journey is. So it's probably going to settle at least in the mid twos, if not higher. I think no matter what, it's still going to be a higher price set because of all those factors.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. And I think too, like, I don't know, maybe it's just me, but like the cards that were released for Heatwave Arena, I felt like you had some incredible cards that were already released with it. And so I felt as if it was going to be a really well performing set. And so having those cards revealed, and then of course today, or more recently this week, I should say, we've had a discussion about the cards that have been revealed for the second half with the Glory Team Rocket set. I don't know. I feel like you couldn't have really gone too far off the rails when it came to what the success is going to be. So I know there's not as many, significant SIRs comparatively from Heatwave Arena to this set. And so there's a lot of emphasis that people were putting. But if there's one thing I guess I've learned, and this is just what I believe, is it doesn't really take a lot for a set to perform extremely well if you have one of the top chase cards like we saw with the Greninja and Twilight Masquerade, right? Like, although it's important to have, good supporting IRs within the set, if you do have a chase card, it's going to make the set perform extremely well. So I personally saw that with the Cynthia's Garchomp and the Ethan's Ho-Ho. I thought those cards are probably going to be some of the top ones within the set. So adding some Team Rocket cards, including the Mewtwo, the Moltres, and some of the regular IRs, which people are obviously going to be chasing. I mean, the Team Rocket's Meowth. I can only imagine how much that one's going to go for as an IR. So I don't know. I think the set's going to do extremely well. It just really comes down to the other factors at play, which is going to be how people feel about the set when it comes to opening it, and then how much supply there's going to be available.
Yeah. Yeah. One of the things I really hate about like, the social media side of this hobby is depending on like what side of the like alley you're on, like, if like people like me and you, we have, money invested in this stuff, we have a business, no one is ever going to hear you out on your opinion. Cause they're always going to say, oh, you're coping, or, oh, you're just saying that to protect your business, to protect your investment. So it's just like, no one's ever going to like sit back and actually hear, each other's thoughts out because they think you have an ulterior motive. And it's just like, one of the biggest things I've been getting questioned with is, Alex, you can't deny the market's not in a downturn right now. And the only thing that people are sharing me is like the Drowsy card, or like the Bubble Mew, the 151 Charizard, the Journey Together. And I'm just like, okay, first of all those cards went up like 100 to 200% in a matter of like a second. And now they're coming back 30, 40%, which makes sense. So if we expand the chart out 6 months, how are they all doing? Right. And two, Journey Together, this is normal. Every set that's ever been released in Pokemon up until maybe Surging Sparks and Prismatic has always came out of the gate, all the singles drop in value. That was like the thing. If you go back to videos, me and Eli, when Eli used to make content that we used to make, that was what you always told everybody. Don't buy it release. That's where all the crazies buy. Let the set come out, release for 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 months. All the singles will fall. They'll settle. That is the time to pick up your singles for your collection. That has always been the case. But for some reason, people got used to this like crazy, high market, everything goes to the moon and doesn't come back down. And so they're like seeing Journey Together cards drop in price, and they think this is like some kind of new, brand new thing, and everything's like going to fall. It's just like, this happens every time. This is normal market.
I think more than anything, I think what I'm personally looking at and kind of how I'm feeling about the confidence of the market is I'm looking at some of the booster boxes and how they've kind of started to slow their roll in their momentum. Like the Journey booster box price, correcting a little bit, that doesn't really scare me at all. I mean, it was already a confusing release with a lot of people not understanding the difference between the enhanced versus the standard. And of course,
It's
with
still
the
more,
set,
by the way.
yeah, and with the set being, such a smaller set with amazing pull rates, it's probably significantly easier for people to get the top chase cards. And so once they've kind of gotten what they've gotten out of the opening the set, it's kind of slowed down. That doesn't
It
really
is
kind
it
of,
is much slower opened on stream than other sets have been.
yeah. So that doesn't really make me more nervous. If anything, it's really a question of how these other sets are kind of like at a standstill, right? Not saying that they can't just continue to make legs up, but some of the Sword and Shield booster boxes have kind of been going sideways or slightly down for the past month or two, which is such a short period of time to really call it on anything. But we're not seeing that just constant upwards, trajectory nonstop as we were seeing, 3 to 6 months ago. So you
Do you
have
see
to
that
kind
as
of ask
weakness or
yourself,
strength, though?
huh?
Do you see that as weakness or strength?
Well, that's the thing is right now, that's the question at hand is this a stop before we continue climbing higher, or is this a stop before we see a course correction because there is fatigue within the hobby? Like that's literally it. And I feel like this is kind of feeling like deja vu. This feels like the same emotional sentiment we had during celebrations for Sword and Shield as we are seeing with Destined Rivals, where you have this upcoming set that everyone's been waiting for. It's been hyped up like crazy and it's been talked about forever. Like when Celebrations came out, everyone knew the 25th anniversary because we all know what the date is, right? And so with Destined Rivals, we had the Gloria Team Rocket set leaked like well over a year ago. Like it was IP. Let's think about this. We've got Inferno X trademarked. No one's talking about it. But when you heard a trademark for the Gloria Team Rocket, no one talks about trademarks. Finally, we see such a huge name on a trademark that all of a sudden it causes so much insanity in the market. So I feel like you're seeing that exact same emotion right now within the space. And there's so much built up after that. It almost begs the question after this set's kind of released, will there be a slowdown? Because that is kind of the set everyone anticipated. And after that, people are like, all right, well, I just wanted that Team Rocket set. Kind of after that, it is what it is. Cause you've already seen a lot of people kind of get a little bit slowed down in the market with, at least on social media, saying,
Yeah.
oh, I'm going to wait till prices go back to normal. I haven't felt a huge, course correction, at least in person in the shop in that regard. Right. And I don't know if you felt it on your streams, but you definitely got to kind of wonder what's going to happen after Glory comes out and what the next sets are going to look like in terms of the general demand.
Yeah, like I said, I think it's all just like perspective on how you view things. Like, in my opinion, if we have a $160 to $180 booster box, people may see that as a slowdown, right? Where I see that as it's just not Team Rocket. It's not as hyped up as that. It's not, like I think that's still a very healthy, strong market. If we saw like a $120 booster box, then I'd be saying, okay, we're in some tough times. And so I think it's just all how you interpret things. Like, kind of like we talk about the Sword and Shield and some of the Scarlet Violet stuff leveling off. It's like you could say, oh, they're no longer growing. Well, yeah, things don't grow forever. But the fact that they're not falling very much, or some of them aren't falling at all, and they're still selling regularly, and people aren't lowering their prices very much, that tells me it's pretty strong because the market's found a price points that people are not only willing to pay, but sellers are also not really willing to come down that much on. And so it just things still look overall strong. We're definitely out of the intense growth phase. That's has to be agreed upon by everybody. The intense growth phase, all the buyouts, manipulation of all the single charts on TCG Player, all the boxes, going from 150 to 200 and stuff. Yeah, that's over, right? But the fact that they're not giving it back tells me we're in a good spot.
So I have an interesting kind of thought or a theory more than anything. This hasn't been discussed whatsoever, and I don't know why, but I think it's one of the most important things that we should probably talk about for today. So, if you look at the Sword and Shield era, right? The last set, like for mainline, was Silver Tempest. It was Sword and Shield 12, right? We've got obviously SV11 coming up, and we know we're going to have an SV12. The thing is, our next set that is going to come out, or sorry, not next set, our next game that is going to come out for the Pokemon series is a remake game. It's not a new generational game, and it doesn't come out until late this year. And so I guess all of this to say is, for the longest time, like, we've been kind of having this conversation of like, okay, what is the Pokemon company going to reprint? And I've already talked about it a little bit on the stream, where the Pokemon company has, at least, from what we've heard at some events, said that they're going to focus on more printing some of the newer sets and addressing that. I mean, they made an announcement about it, Prismatic moving forward, they're going to do that. And you kind of ask yourself the question, like, why is that the case? Like, do we really think they could go back and start to, like, course correct on some of these sets prices and really pump them out? I think we're going to have a lot deeper of an era for Scarlet and Violet compared to anything we've had historically. Because we have to think, most of the time when it comes to our like middle games like Arceus and like remakes like Pokemon Brilliant Diamond, Shining Pearl, these come out with such a short window compared to generational games. And so the fact is, Pokemon said that they were going to put more time and effort into this game, which is why the release is so much significantly later. And we don't even know, like, if there's going, like, we don't know what the next generation is going to look like, when that's going to be announced, when this is going to come out. So you could easily see it within the Scarlet and Violet generation that we could go SV 14, 15, 16, and even longer. So I would say people need to be prepared for the fact that the reason why Pokemon is like moving forward with not printing some of these older sets is not because they don't care about like the pricing of them, but it's because we're at a point right now where there's still so much more of the Scarlet and Violet era than we actually realize, because it's going to be a longer era compared to some of the older generations we've had historically. And then, not to mention too, you also have to think about this, right? Like, we saw Evolving Skies obviously come out in 2021 in August, right? And we had its final release of, or, small tiny reprint come out in August for the set itself. That was like the last, tiny reprint that we kind of got for it. And so that's, realistically about a year later from the set. And then from there, the only sets you saw any sort of reprint for were the more relevant sets that were within a year old, obviously, with, Brilliant and Silver and Lost Origin, all within that kind of year window. We're coming up now with these sets being 2 years old. Like, this is not like a set that's like a year old. If this was the Sword and Shield era, we would have 3 sets and then we'd be moving on. So people have to kind of come to the realization now more than ever that this may not only be a longer generation than we realize, but now the main focus is going to be SV 6, 7, 8, and then moving forward, or maybe SV 8 moving forward. Who knows what Pokemon kind of decides. But I feel like that's something that a lot of people don't realize, that this is going to be a longer generation than what we've seen historically speaking.
It's probably one of the biggest criticisms I've got over the course of the last year making content is, and that's why it became a meme on my channel. It was the hashtag I'm gonna wait crowd, because, all of the people who had, kind of entered the hobby through Sword and Shield, they hadn't seen a lot of what people had been in X, Y, and Sun and Moon have seen. Like, they hadn't been through a time where or they hadn't been in early Sword and Shield, like SV, Sword and Shield base. They hadn't been in the hobby when a set didn't get reprinted. They didn't know what it was like. And so when I started saying these things, when Scarlet Violet started to age, people just came at me like, oh, you're trying to create FOMO. They reprint everything into the ground. They're not going to let sets be expensive, all these things, right? And it's finally coming to pass where people are finally realizing, oh, Alex had a point. They won't reprint all of these sets. They're not going to. And the whole hashtag I'm going to wait crowd, well, they ended up missing out on a lot of this because, they didn't want to lock up dead money. They didn't want to, buy something and have it get reprinted where they could have gotten cheaper. They didn't want to, all the, reasons you normally hear. And we're finally experiencing why, you can't just you can't let a small portion of time dictate how you believe like everything will be handled in the entirety of the Pokemon hobby. Like just because a portion of time in the Sword and Shield era, every set was getting reprinted, people thought that every set forever always gets massive reprints. And that's where we're at now. It doesn't happen.
So I just looked this up just to confirm it. So Cosmic Eclipse was SM12, right? Last standard one. Silver Tempest, SH12, and Evolutions was XY12. It was all 12. So you've either got one of two things happening here. Either one, you're going to see us go past 12 and we're just going to see more sets because of the push off. Or I feel like this is much less likely, but totally on the table. You're going to see kind of what we saw and we haven't seen since the Diamond and Pearl era, where you had the like Diamond and Pearl Platinum sets, and then you had like a Heart Gold, Soul Silver, which was kind of a part of that era, but not really, because it was more of like a remake of its own. You could, I guess, in theory, make an argument that that's going to be it. But still, regardless of how you kind of anticipate what it's going to look like, we're still a ways away before the next generation comes out. So you've got a lot that you got to kind of consider here.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are calling, at least from what I've seen, they're calling this the top of the market. Like they're calling Destined Rivals and Journey the top of the market. How do you feel about that?
I don't disagree. I don't. I honestly think Destined is going to be a very important set for this hobby. Like that's just kind of how it feels. I think you're going to see, well, and we talked about this a little bit on the last stream. People don't realize how much of a falling knife the hobby is primed in a position to be when it comes to just a small price correction. Because as we're aware, scalpers are in the hobby because there's money to be made. The minute there's money to be made, they start to leave the hobby and prices stop kind of having that same momentum upwards. And the price point that we need boxes to get to for that momentum to shift has nothing to do with it being close to wholesale or being $100 a box or 110. All it needs to be is MSRP, because all of these scalpers don't have access to distribution. They're going to big box retailers and they're buying ETBs for 50, 60 a box. They're going onto Pokemon Center, buying boxes for 166 for boosters. And so that's all it's going to realistically take for this market to make a shift. So we obviously see Destin right now is performing at well over 300. If you start to see a position where the set to follow is closer to MSRP, you could start to see an effect where the market gets extremely weak and you see a lot of the scalpers leave the hobby, and then that causes prices to go lower shortly after.
Got it. Yeah.
I don't know if you have any thoughts on that, but I don't know. I don't think it's like gonna be as bad as people think, but I also at the same exact time don't think it's going to like be pretty. Like MSRP will not be the new norm. MSRP never has been the norm. That's just the reality of the market.
Yeah. There's just so many different ways to look at it, right? Like I just think, people have this like almost like comic book level of understanding of like the top, right? Like they like see like, oh, a bunch of green charts going up and then a bunch of red charts going down and everything crashes. Like maybe Destined Rivals is the most expensive booster box, right? But like as far as the top of the market, like for me, I don't see all these Scarlet Violet sets dropping. Like I don't see Paldea Evolve having a pullback. I don't see like, I think the market is going to remain relatively intact, stable. A lot of the sets that don't get reprints, I think will still be steady, keep rising. I think the ones that do get reprints will have small corrections. And I don't know. I just think even if boxes come out after Destined Rivals, that even though they're cheaper, as long as they're stable and they're not crashing and they're still selling at the prices that people value them at, and everything is still, there's as many buyers as there are sellers, and it's a stable, kind of equilibrium. It just doesn't feel like a top to me. You know what I'm saying? Like a top would mean like what we saw in 2021, where literally across the entire board, everything was coming down, whether it be between 10 to 50+%, where I just don't see it happening. I think the rest of the hobby is so stable because like right now, like I said, yeah, you see some big hits, like some illustration rares coming back down from their pumps. Some of the biggest hits like Mew and Charizard coming down. You see, Journey correcting, but like X, Y, and Sun and Moon are going on their biggest rises ever. Like you see all the Sword and Shield stuff, like recovering, holding up extremely well. A lot of the Scarlet Violet stuff is still setting new highs. I mean, Obsidian, Paldea looking great. Like for everything to correct, that means you would need, confidence to be shattered across the entire market, everyone to pull back their buying, and sellers to start get antsy and start to sell things for like, far less than market just to get out of them. I just don't see it happening just because Destined Rivals comes out. That's my take.
Well, we kind of talked about this with the Sword and Shield era in particular, right? We talked about how most moves typically happen after the holiday season. Obviously, this time around, it came a little bit earlier because we didn't have really any sort of reprints during this holiday season. And so you saw moves happen closer to January instead of March. And we're into April. So I feel like we're in a position now where you're going to definitely see a slowdown in terms of like a lot of the momentum for the Sword and Shield era. Like boxes aren't going to go. I mean, obviously, you're going to have certain ones like Evolving that are going to, do their thing. But I don't think you're going to see a major leg up. But I don't think they're going to course correct because they're not in print anymore, right? Like they're still deflationary items. The ones that are, of course, going to be affected the most are going to be just sets that I would argue are prismatic and forward. That's kind of it, because we know that based on what information we have currently, it is extremely unlikely that Pokemon is going to print from Paradox or older. Who knows? Like you could see them, of course, print some of Stellar Crown, or they couldn't print Stellar Crown. We don't really know. So it feels a lot safer just based on the fact that these sets are the oldest of the four, and there's still so much more to come that they're probably going to put more effort and focus into. This feels, for me, I would say that I compare what it feels like right now within the market, less like kind of 2021 sentiment and more like 2022, 2023 sentiment, where if you remember then, we had obviously our final print for, Evolving Skies, and it was extremely small. It caused a correction, but after that, that was kind of it, right? And then from there, everyone was like, well, we got to get another print for Fusion. We got to get another print for Chilling and Battle Styles, and it just never came, right? And that's kind of what you're hearing with a lot of people talking about with some of these SV older sets at this point. And they're significantly older than when the conversations were happening for these Fusion, Strike, and Chilling sets. They were much newer in terms of time frame, right? Because those sets all came out during the middle of 2021, and we thought they were going to get a reprint within a year, and it never happened other than that like one big end of year catalyst for 2021, right? And I think it really just comes down to the difference in where we are in the market comparatively. So I think you can look at that and say it's more than likely these older Scarlet and Violet sets are going to get reprinted. And kind of like what we saw with Sword and Shield, they focused much more on the back half sets with obviously Brilliant Star, Astral Radiance, Silver Tempest, Lost Origin, Crown Zenith. You're going to probably see that with, the equivalent, which currently speaking, right, is going to be Surging Spark, Prismatic Evolution, Journey, Destined, whatever comes forward. That just seems to be the most realistic.
I mean, I think the hobby needed this. I really do. Like that. This is why I'm the bad guy. I think the hobby needed this because it's like anything in life. Once you get in like a routine and things are expected, people start to like make moves based on expectations. But once you throw that off, it sends people into like uncertainty. And that's when like they don't know what to do. And that's when, you can't actually, kind of induce people to spend more because they're uncertain. And I think that's what's good about what happened with SV era is it took people out of that mindset of I can just wait for a year and a half for a reprint, right? It made them start to question and say, then that's why I think spurred a lot of the sales of Surging and Stellar and Prismatic and now Journey is people no longer have that mindset of, well, I can just wait, a year and a half and I'll buy then before it goes up. It's just like, well, what if they don't reprint every set into the ground anymore? What if these don't have massive? What if at the release is the best price on some of these sets? And now that's in the back of people's minds. Like, well, they could get reprinted, but they also could not. And so, like, I think that's actually a really strong, move for the hobby, strong move for Pokemon. And guys, Magic the Gathering is doing the same thing, right? Like, they're doing it with their collector boxes now, right? That's why the collector boxes are so strong, is because they're no longer just giving endless amounts of product to the market. Why do you think One Piece is actually doing okay? Bandai switched up the thing it did with all of their other card games that destroyed their other card games, even other very popular IPs. Guys, everyone thinks One Piece is so unique because it's a really popular IP. Bandai has got their hands on so many popular IPs. They've destroyed them because of what? Overprinting. And I know everyone wants everything to be cheap and, valueless, but that's not good for long-term growth of hobbies. Last thing I'm going to say is, people in the chat I saw saying something about 100 to 120 is a healthy spot. Guys, $100 a box is as unhealthy as $200 a box. I'm just going to throw it out there. $100 a box is as unhealthy as $200 a box. Because if average stores are paying $95 a box and they can only make 5, that means they can't even sell them online and make a profit after fees and shipping. So you're saying stores should lose money on every single sealed product again, is what you're saying. Now, I understand 200 is too much, right? Customers are paying too much, but there is an equilibrium where it's fair for both. And anyone thinking that 100 is a good spot for the market with the new MSRP, with the new prices that distributors charge, you're kind of out of your mind. You don't really understand the hobby that deeply. So that's what I had to say about it.
We're going to continue the conversation, but just a friendly reminder again, leave a like, comment down below, subscribe. And then of course, if you have any questions for us, we're going to go into the question segment here in the next 10 minutes. Make sure in caps, say question, and then follow it up with your question. Just makes it so much easier for us as we go through and try and answer everyone's questions down in the comment section below. But yeah, no, right now, Magic, the newest set, Tarkir Dragonstorm, it performed extremely well. I mean, you've got some good cards in the set.
I opened some last night, by the way.
Did you actually? No,
I opened a collector box on stream.
Oh, that's so funny. Did you get anything crazy?
No serialized. We did pull like a $100 card and something else too.
Was it a Halo foil?
It was one of the dragons. It was the
Ugin.
What was it? I can't remember exactly which one it was.
Because Ugin's the main chase.
Ugin,
dragon.
yeah, it was one of the Ugin cards.
Nice, that's good. Yeah, Ugin's sick. We actually, dude, remember
and then we pulled a hollow mythic as well.
Remember how I told you remember I told you in the shop, I don't know what it is, we've had just insane luck all around.
Yeah.
We had someone pull yet again another serialized in the shop. So we had them pull the Mox Jasper, a serialized, and that was our 4th serialized pulled in the past, month and a half. So like, it's literally insane what our kind of like hot streak is. We had some kid, like just, I don't know, some like 10 or 11-year-old pull like a Lily in the shop, and he was like losing his mind because he only bought 1 pack. So I don't know about everyone else, but we've had some monster kind of pulls in the shop lately. So, and Magic right now, to your point, it's going up, man. Like Tarkir Dragonstorm, like the collector box is at 380, and on release it was going for like around 320. So you're starting to see it perform even better. I mean, some of the singles have obviously course corrected from their pre-sale pricing, but I mean, at least the standard like showcase Halo foil for the English Ugin, it was pre-selling for like 4, and now it's up to 550. So it's kind of interesting to see how some of these rare cards are performing. But
well, it's funny, you have all, at least in my card shop, I'm sure this is the same way. You have all the collector boxes and packs up on the shelf, right? All the cheaper ones from all the sets, and you have this one that's more expensive than any other set. That's what people are still buying more of.
Yeah.
Why is that? I thought people just wanted cheap stuff.
It's a fun set to open. There's so many good cards. There's so many good reprints. I mean,
but Eli, it's not cheap. I thought people just wanted cheap, dude. This is what I'm constantly told. Everyone just wants cheap stuff, right?
I know. People like dragons, dude. But
people
yeah,
like value. I think that people actually want value in their collectibles. It's crazy.
Well, it's because even if you don't get one of the big chase cards, pulling a Crater Hoof just feels great. You're like, this is such a good card because it's been in the meta for. It's like an auto include in every green deck. So even if you don't like get one of the biggest best hits, you still have so many possible like potential cards that you can grab, which is fantastic. Yeah. And there's just so many new dragon cards that are introduced that are just great, right? But steering it back to Pokemon, because there's one other thing I kind of wanted to touch on regarding to Pokemon, right? When it comes to the obvious like future of how we look at things. Just, obviously for a while there, my kind of thought process on the hobby was always, okay, reprints come during the holiday season. This obviously wasn't the case when we switched from yellow to silver border, but that was just kind of a one-off. Now it doesn't feel like that. And what it almost feels like more than ever, and this is just me, of course, shifting my position as new information is, provided to me. I can 100% admit that I was obviously wrong. And now with new information, we're coming up with new ways to kind of figure out how Pokemon handles things. I think that what you're going to potentially see moving forward is kind of like what we saw within the Sword and Shield era. Pokemon didn't print that much of Vivid Voltage. They didn't print that much of Darkness Ablaze booster boxes. But the reason why they corrected was because they did it when they printed everything else, right? Whereas a lot of people don't know this, but we did get a print for Obsidian and Paldea, but it was extremely small. Like, we offered it in the program as a bundle. It was like you had to buy a case of some tins and then you got access to one of the cases. We didn't have a ton of it, but we didn't also have a ton for Darkness Ablaze and for Vivid Voltage, but it crashed it because the times in which that print occurred wasn't surrounded by so much more product available. So you didn't see any real like correction within the market. And so you can kind of see that correlation. Whereas right now in the hobby, obviously, we're anticipating that most of these newer sets are going to be the ones that are going to be printed much heavier. And comparatively, if you kind of look at it within the second half, as I like to call it, alternate arts forward for the Sword and Shield era, that's what kind of got the most print. So I think Pokemon has kind of learned that the demand is really coming from that like back half of like generations when they introduce these new art designs, and they're going to focus much more on printing those into the grounds compared to like some of the newer generations. They're going to print the first half of the generation, they're going to print them still, but it's not going to be like as big of prints because they don't really need to, since everything kind of slows down once a new generation comes in. So as crazy as this might sound, you might not like Paldea Evolved as much as I do. You might not like Paradox Rift as much as I do. But if we can get into a trend here where we start to see this be consistent over the next generations, you could see where it could actually be an extremely safe play to pick up some booster boxes from the intro into a new gen, just because the likelihood that Pokemon is going to address prints during that period of time compared to back halves is going to be much safer from a long-term investment perspective. Because we saw that with Sword and Shield base, we saw that with Rebel Clash, they never got touched, and they're obviously much higher than what they should be, but it's because there's not as much supply significantly because there wasn't a reprint.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, anything else you want to say before we get into questions here?
No, man, I think we got some good stuff to discuss in the chat.
All right, let's do it. I will start off then from the top. What in the world? Some people are doing some countdowns here. All right, here we go. Number 1, questions with everyone's attention on Destined Rivals are Chilling Reign, I assume, Lost Origin, and Brilliant Stars, the undervalued pickups right now. I assume that's what he's referencing, yes? Chilling Reign, Lost Origin, Brilliant Stars. I don't know if there's any other sets that are.
It depends on the time frame, honestly.
Yeah.
Here's the thing, right? All right, let's think back to like the top sets and eras, right? Like if Destined Rivals becomes a top set and performs like other top sets, would it have been a good idea to pick up other sets other than Evolving Skies, even when Evolving Skies was 400? Well, Chilling, Fusion, what else? Like Battle Styles, Vivid, Darkness, not really, right? Even going back to Sun and Moon, maybe, yeah, you could argue maybe it would Unified or Unbroken were at that times, possibly. Let's go back to Team Up. Would it have been good to pick up any, those later XY sets like Fates Collide or, any of that stuff, Steam Siege, Evolutions? Would that have been a better pickup than Team Up when Team Up was $300-$400? And the question is, it could go either way, but like, think about this: in 5 years, Destined Rivals could still outperform those other sets. As crazy as that sounds. Now, maybe in the next 6 months, a year and a half, 2 years, reprints happen, this or that happens. Maybe not. But in 5 years, if Destined Rivals is the top set in this era, like other top sets have been, there is a possibility percentage-wise it may outperform Chilling, Lost, or Brilliant. You have to at least entertain that possibility if you're going to compare it to other top sets, in my opinion.
So here's a fun question to ask you. So right now we have booster boxes for Paldea Evolved at 240, right?
What a great, that sounds so nice, doesn't it? Say it again.
240 for Paldea Evolved.
Love it.
Brilliant Stars right now is sitting a little bit under 300. Right now, which one would you prefer to pick up? Would you prefer to pick up?
Paldea Evolved.
That's yeah. You prefer Paldea
Not even
Evolved?
a question.
Yeah.
Not even a question.
Do you want to elaborate a little bit more for us?
Yeah, I mean, Brilliant Stars, it's a decent set, but like, I mean, what cards do people really want? They want the Charizard, Arceus, the Umbreons, and Sylveons, maybe the Mimikyus. Like, I just think Paldea Evolved is a much deeper set. It has every new legendary, every new starter line, both the illustrations and special illustrations. The Magikarp, which is, in the PSA 10 version, one of the most expensive cards in the entire era. If the waifu craze comes back, you got the Iono, which is the most typed, waifu in this era so far. I don't know. I just a lot of the other illustrations that are beautiful, the Tyranitar, the Raichu, the Meryl, all those, like Tyranitar's top tier. I just think, it's the deepest set in the entire era other than Prismatic. It's got, I believe, 51 SIR and IRs combined, which is the deepest set. And it's actually fun to open. The pull rates are good, whereas, as we know, Sword and Shield pull rates, it's not as fun to open. I would rather have I would rather have 3 boxes of Paldea than I would 2 boxes of Brilliant Stars. That's where I'm at with it. And I know it's the Charizard, but the Charizard V is not as hard to hit as Chilling Reign, Fusion Strike, and Evolving Skies Alt Arts because 1, it's a V, it's not a V Max. The Vs are easier. And 2, there's not as many alt arts in the set. So to pull specific alt art in Brilliant Stars, it's much easier than pulling like the Umbreon VMAX, Gengar VMAX, Blaziken VMAX. And so for all those reasons, yeah, man, I'd rather be in Paldea.
Here's a little bit of a tougher question for you. Would you rather have to pick up right now, if you had to pick up, the last 5 of the Sword and Shield era or the first 5 of the Scarlet Violet era? And when I say 5, I mean Astral, Lost, Brilliant, Silver, Crown Zenith, or would it be SV Base, Obsidian, Paldea, Paradox, and 151?
Oh,
yeah.
Which 151 makes it harder.
I know. That's why I said 5, because I feel like it would have been easier.
If it would have been without 151 and it would have been like Base, Paradox, Paldea, Obsidian, and Temporal, I would say Sword and Shield for sure.
Yeah.
With 151 and Paldea, Paradox, I'd probably still give it to Sword and Shield.
Yeah.
I probably still would. I think it's closer, but yeah, I think it's still Sword and Shield.
Yeah. And I feel like that's going to be just a continuation moving forward, where with generations, as we consistently get better, the first halves are going to be so strong that they're going to be able to be comparable to the last halves. I mean, obviously we didn't see that. We didn't really see that too much with Sword and Shield first half compared to Sun and Moon with tag teams. But I think with at least the way in which the direction is moving forward with art designs, Pokemon has obviously realized how much people love these different alternate art designs. So
yeah.
In your opinion, what are the top 5 SV sets so far? I feel like we always get asked this so much.
Prismatic, 151, Paldea, Surging, Paldean Fates.
I would say I really love Paldea Evolved. That's still my favorite right now. But did you say Destined? I didn't hear.
Oh, does that count? No, I didn't use Destined.
Now that it's revealed, I guess.
I mean, I'm sure I'd throw Destined in there once I seen like all the actual cards. I didn't count that one, but yeah, you can use that.
I mean, for me, now that it's revealed, I'm probably still putting Destined at 1.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm a sucker for Garchomp, Cynthia. Plus I do enjoy the Team Rocket cards revealed. So I'd probably put that at 1. I like Paldea Evolved, then Prismatic, Then I'm going Surging. And then at number 5, I'm going... What do I want for number 5? Honestly, this might be a little bit of a hot take, but I like Journey.
Dude,
I'm not.
you're leaving out Paldean Fates?
Yeah, 100%.
Dude, the Bubble Mew and the Charizard are like the 2 best cards in the era.
Sick cards.
Like not 2 of the top cards.
No, they're sick cards. It's a personal preference. I'm talking about what I enjoy on a personal level. It has nothing to do with that. I think the reason why for me is because when it comes to like my experience opening Paldean Fates, if I didn't get one of the SIRs, I felt like I got burnt. You know? And versus when it came to like Journey Together, the pull rates are so significantly better, and there's still value in the IRs past what you get in the SIRs with like the Articuno, right? And so I would say I just had an overall better experience in that regard, you know. And also too, I'm just a huge fan of like Lord N cards. Lord N cards are one of my favorites, right? If it didn't have Lord N card in it, then obviously that would change my perspective on the set overall, just because the Lord N cards within the line are some of my favorite they've ever made. So
yeah,
but
I get it.
Also too, I understand it's one of the best characters. I obviously invest based on the character, but as someone who grew up with Blastoise being the starter I chose, I've never been like obsessed with Charizard sets and sets that have Charizards. It's never been something that I'm like, oh, I gotta pick it up because it's a Charizard set. You know what I mean? It's fun to chase Charizards, but
I always use Blastoise too.
Yeah.
I was Squirrel, I was Totodile, I was always the water. Always.
I mean, it was just the easiest, especially because, well, I played the remakes because obviously I'm 26, so I was too young.
Yeah.
But like when I played Leaf Green, it just made the most sense to grab typically either Blastoise or Bulbasaur, because the first two you're going to get smoked if you got Charmander, because you obviously had Brock then Misty as the first two.
Right.
So, and it wasn't until third with Erica's where you're like, all right, now maybe a Charmander makes sense. But anyway, we're getting past this. Eli, how were 151 bundle reprint allocations? Pretty good over here. So I assume you're talking about like well, it's hard because you don't live in the US, so it's completely different from how they handle things. But over here in the US, what they did was most of our distros offered them significantly higher than what was wholesale. And so, and it was a limit, like extremely limited. And then you also as well had one of our distros that did offer them at like wholesale, I guess. You had to buy it in a bundle, and we got a limit of like 4 bundles if I'm correct. And I had to go through, and I think I mentioned this on one of the other streams, that we took our top 2 spenders, we gave them each a bundle, we raffled off one of them so that anyone in the program can get it, and then we took one for the shop. So it's like that was kind of it. So we got nothing, in other words. So it's probably a little bit different where you are. But you also have to think too, like the GDP of the United States consumption wise, like is insane. Like you don't really realize how big of a market the US is until you start looking at the numbers on just overall consumption. I mean, our GDP is at like what I think it's 30 trillion. And you look at like China, Germany, India, I can't remember what the other one is, but like we're the same size as all those countries combined in terms of GDP. So for us, even if we got the same amount printed as you guys, it's going to feel so much significantly less because we just have so many more consumers. Like our market is just like crazy.
Your average player said Norway, not a state yet, but with how Trump is moving, not too long.
Oh, Norway. He's in Norway. Okay, you're not in the UK, you're in Norway. My bad. Well, I know why. I thought you were in the UK because isn't that where Pokey Chloe resides? Average player used to work for Pokey Chloe for a little bit. So, and I'm pretty certain she has a shop over in the UK. You can correct me if I'm wrong. But
I know nothing about all that, yeah.
Oh, you didn't know? Yeah. Her online, her shop looked cool. So, all right, moving on to the next question. Hi Eli, can you provide updates on Final Fantasy in terms of allocation? The collector boxes are so expensive. We were only able to get gift bundles so far for 94. So unlike Pokemon, Magic, what they tend to do is they tend to price things differently based on what type of set it is. So like with main standard sets where you've got like collectors, play boosters, gifts, and like just standard products, they're typically going to charge collectors for like around 180 a box. Whereas
what's
with
MSRP?
Yeah, right. What's MSRP? Whereas like with these specialty boxes, like you saw with any of the Universes Beyond, or like some of the remastering like you saw with Innistrad, they're charging us like like 240, I think. So significantly higher. Regular MSRP is 280. Alfred, do you want to look up for me what the MSRP is for like specialty sets like Innistrad? Because that would be interesting to see what it is. But yeah, they just typically tend to do that. So it's extremely more expensive. And you see too, like, here's the problem is if a set is like a specialty set like that and it performs bad, you get destroyed. Because you saw that kind of with Commander Masters and Baldur's Gate, where the prices were so much more to be able to get access to the product, and it completely tanked the market because no one wanted the product because it was just like not. It was not good at the time. And to be fair, Baldur's had a horrible release. Innistrad Remaster, just so people know, the MSRP is $360 for that. So it's an $80 difference. So it's like, it's a huge difference. But to, I guess, answer your question on the allocation side, I don't know. I'd have to kind of go in and take a look here real quick. I know
Yeah, I'll trade you. I'll tell you what. I will give you a Shrouded Fable ETB at MSRP if you sell me a 151 at double MSRP.
Oh my
dude, that's such a deal. You're getting double MSRP.
Dude.
That's such a ripoff. I'm getting so ripped off.
Dude, I'll do that deal. Let's do
All
it,
right.
baby.
Sounds
All
good.
right. All right. Here, I gotta control F something.
I'm just ripping myself off, guys. I'm just selling product for MSRP paying double. Like, I'm so stupid.
I haven't gotten numbers yet for collectors with our main distro. I know that we have one of our other big distros. We did get numbers for it. Let's see if Alfred beats me, knowing him. I'm gonna literally try and search it right now, and he's probably gonna be.
I'm watching the chat. I'm watching. You guys are on the timer.
Well, he's pinging me. He pings me on Discord. He's like Joe Rogan, how he's got Jamie and he's like, pull it up before Rogan even asked him to pull it up. Like
you just compared Alfred to Jamie,
dude. That's a huge compliment.
Is that what just happened?
Yeah, dude, that's a huge compliment. I'm like literally talking, and before I even have to research the information, Alfred already has it pulled up.
Are you gonna shave your head for the next episode,
dude? How'd you know? Final Fantasy collectors with one of our, like, I would say second largest distributor is 109 boxes. So I don't know how you want to look at that, but compare. Oh, I have a.
What do you sell them as? 2 cases of 2 or
cases of 6 in a case, like you would with standard booster boxes. Here's something that will be interesting. So keep that number in mind, 109 for Final Fantasy collectors. So what we got for Tarkir Dragonstorm was 99 collectors. So we're getting slightly more than what we did for Tarkir. So you kind of have to base it off of that. And the window for this set too was so insane. I'm surprised they already have allocations for it, because the set doesn't even come out. Well, actually, oh no, it comes out in June. I'm sorry. I'm thinking of the Spider-Man set. But yeah, we got 24 of the Japanese collectors as well. So, yeah, I don't know. It'll be interesting to see what kind of happens with the set. I'm surprised we didn't get more since it was a little bit of a larger pre-order window, but I think maybe it's because they're kind of hyping up the Spider-Man set, which comes out in September, and we're already taking pre-orders for that. So,
am I the only one that's more excited for Final Fantasy than Spider-Man?
No, everyone is. Everyone is. Like,
yeah, it's kind of.
I'm the only one that's more excited for Spider-Man than Final Fantasy, and that's because I never played Final Fantasy. That's literally why. And I grew up with Tobey Maguire movies and, big Spider-Man fan. But other than that, yeah, no. Everyone that I've talked to is literally like ogling about it in the shop. Everyone's like, Final Fantasy, Final Fantasy, Final Fantasy. So
I mean, it's like Spider-Man's cool, but it's like,
yeah, Final Fantasy. Is Brilliant currently the most undervalued set? Somehow won eBay auction for less than 265 a couple days ago.
Currently the most undervalued set.
He didn't say Sword and Shield era. He just said in general.
Dude, I don't even know. I honestly don't even know. The most undervalued set is Brilliant Stars. Like, that just sounds weird saying, but it's not like I can off the top of my head tell you another set that I feel is a better buy right now. Sure. I don't know if it's the most undervalued, but it definitely seems like a great pickup at that price. I'll say that.
Well, let me put it for you this way. Here's a good question. Which would you rather have right now? Astral Radiance or Brilliant Stars?
Still Brilliant. I mean, I know it's got the Starmie V, but I think Brilliant Stars Trainer Gallery, like the depth, even though it's got the Garchomp too and Astral, the depth of it with both Umbreons, both Sylveons, the Mimikyus, all the Evolution yellow borders, and then you also have the Charizard and Arceus. I think that beats what Astral's got.
Astral is currently selling for 270, where Brilliant is slightly below 300. They're not far off from one another.
I think they're both good pickups, honestly.
Yeah. I have started to appreciate Astral over time. It's not that I ever hated Astral because, once again, Garchomp Cynthia card, but I definitely feel like it's finally started to get a little bit more of an appreciation as it gets older. I think the biggest disdain for it, and this is also just talking from my personal disdain for the set that I disliked it for the longest time, was I really hated the origin forms for Dialga and Palkia. Like, don't get me wrong, like the origin form Palkia card looks cool, but in terms of the way they made their legs and like their horses, I don't know. It just always upsetted me.
I mean, Astros, dude, I've always been a fan of Astro when a lot of people weren't. Like, I mean, dude, listen, here's the thing. People are always going to want to chase the tops, whatever the top is. That's why people like don't understand why Prismatic is still so popular. Like, yeah, the hit rates suck, but when you pull those cards, like last night we pulled the Sylveon, it's a better experience than pulling any of the other cards. Like, hey, pulling, whatever you want to pull. Say, I don't know, Gardevoir from Sword and Shield base, or pulling the Charizard from Obsidian Flames. It's cool, but it's not pulling the Sunbreon. Like, and so it's like when you look at the Starmie V, like that is the top trainer gallery. I think it's this top trainer gallery in the entire era. Like, people are going to want to chase that card forever. Like, Charizard V is never going to be the top alt art. Umbreon VMAX, I think it was the top trainer gallery for a while. I don't think it is anymore, but it's like, yeah, they'll want to chase that, but people want to chase the top hits. And that Starmie V is likely going to be the top hit in trainer galleries.
Yeah. Question.
And yes, and like Danny said, Astro was more short printed, I believe, than the other sets.
Yes, significantly more.
That's another thing. Supply is always a thing.
100%. Will they be able to save the last couple sets surging Prismatic? I don't think so. Journey DR.
I don't know. Everyone was saying a whole bunch of stuff in the chat earlier. I don't know how you want to respond to it. Like, I stay out of all like the leaks and the rumors and all that. Everyone was saying that like Journey or Scarlet Violet's over after 10.5.
What do you mean 10.5?
Go down the chat a little bit. Everyone was saying like Poke Beach said it was over, and I don't know about any of that.
Hold on. I'm gonna have to correct myself.
Yeah, so I have no clue what's going on with all the Scarlet Violet era stuff. Like I said, you guys are always going to know more than me. I stay off a lot of the social media stuff. I don't really pay attention to a lot what's going on. I just stay in my own little zone. So if that's a thing, maybe it is. I don't know about.
That'd be interesting. Yeah, because obviously, like, well, so going back to the original thing that I said, right, which was this generation's going to be, we don't know when the next gen is coming out, so it's a ways away. And when they did the remakes for obviously Brilliant Diamond, Shining Pearl, and they did the Arceus sets, those sets all first and foremost came out around the same time, but they were included in the Sword and Shield era. That's what the back half of the Sword and Shield era was, with the Brilliant Stars Arceus set, and then obviously Astral Radiance. So for me, I don't see why it wouldn't be included in Scarlet and Violet. That's kind of what they've always done. Obviously, XY included a lot of the megas from Omega Ruby, Alpha Sapphire. So this has been something they've always done. But like I said, you could see a situation where they do what they did within the Diamond Pearl era. Feels unlikely, but if that's kind of what the information is, we'll kind of know when we know. But yeah, we're at SV10 right now with Destined Rivals. So we've got at least another 3 sets that are going to come out. I assume this year. I could be wrong. Maybe it's only going to be another 2 sets to end the year. But I feel like that's extremely unlikely because Pokemon at this point, I mean, let's think. How many sets have we had this year? We've had Prismatic in January. We just in March just obviously had Journey Together, and then we're gonna in June have Destined. So we've already had 3 sets this year. So in theory, we should be on track for another 3. I don't know. People are probably gonna pull up the chart and try and like tell me the information below. Who knows how accurate it's gonna obviously be since we thought Glory was gonna be out a lot sooner than it is. But
it's just like for me, it's just not something that interests me. Like
you don't know. Like we don't know. We don't know.
It's not interesting. It doesn't matter.
Right.
Like whether you call something Scarlet Violet or you call it something different, it's kind of irrelevant.
Is Inferno X going to be a part of the Reshiram Black and White set? Like, or is it going to be a separate thing of its own, right? Like, we're going to get one more specialty set. That's just a fact. Like, we're going to get another specialty set.
Well, I think that's what they're saying. They're saying that'll be 10.5 and that'll end the era, apparently.
But why would it, I guess, end the era? Because are they going to do a new era that is instead of coming up with a new generation, it's going to be XY 2.01, or are they going to say Z 0.1? Like, I don't know.
Yeah, maybe like ZNA is going to be its own thing.
Yeah, that would be the first time they've ever done that. Like, that would be crazy if they did that. Because technically speaking, like Heart Gold, Soul Silver, although it was its own thing, it was still technically a part of the same line. So yeah, I don't know. Well, it will be interesting to see because most people, as crazy as it sounds, like they consider that to be a part of the Gen 4 like card line. It's not Gen 4, but it was made on the DS. It was a DS game, right? So when does the Switch 2 come out, by the way?
No idea.
No idea? Nice. I can't recall. I assume it's going to be on the Switch 2, but I was just curious. Scarlet Violet or Sword and Shield, the first sets of SV Sword and Shield are bad compared to the first of the SV era.
True. Definitely true.
It's hard to
come on. That's not even a thought.
Well, yeah, no, I agree with that. But he's saying overall, what is better, SV or Sword and Shield era?
The first sets of Sword and Shield are bad compared to first. No, he's just saying the first sets, the first versus the first. Yeah, like Base Rebel, Darkness, Blaze, and Vivid have no chance against SV, Base, Paldea, Obsidian, and Paradox. Like it's not even close.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I just didn't know if he was using that as an argument to say why just the overall Scarlet Violet era is better than Sword and Shield.
Because for me, it comes down to one thing. For me, it comes down to enjoyment opening. I mean, it's 100% more enjoyable to open Scarlet Violet era packs than it is Sword and Shield. And like you could say, other than maybe Prismatic, but other than that, like even if Prismatic, at least you get tons of Pokeball, Master Ball, Full Arts, and EXs. It's like opening Chilling Reign or Evolving or Fusion Strike. You feel like death opening those packs, and it's like even the later ones with the trainer galleries, you get a little more hits. It wasn't until Crown Zenith where you really felt like you're getting hits, or like celebrations. But yeah, man, like it's just for the sheer like enjoyment of opening. I think that's why Scarlet Violet will do so well over time, is because even as they get more expensive, people are still going to want to crack them because you do still have a lot better chance of actually pulling the cards. Whereas Sword and Shield, man, it is like that one moonshot alt art or you are getting devastated. So like that's why I like it more. More balanced.
Switch 2, by the way, comes out in June. So we're gonna get Legend ZA. It's gonna be a part of the Switch 2. So it's gonna be new gen. New gen, whatever.
You gonna scalp some Switches?
Dude, of course. Didn't they say, what was it again? It was like they were going to allow people to pre-order the Switch 2 only if they had like a Nintendo account for a certain period of time, was like the way they were doing it. There was like
I've already started to get ins with like the truck drivers. I'm going like high level stuff.
Let's go, baby.
We're going to get them before they even get out of the truck. We're going to have them file insurance claims so they fell off the truck into Alex's car. All right.
Dang.
Yeah.
Alex is next level, man.
Yeah.
I'm trying to see the article. If someone wants to send it to me in Discord, I'm trying to find the article for the announcement that it's going to be the end of the era after 10.5. So that'd be fascinating. Last 3 generations has ended at 12, and they just decide, no, we're gonna end it at 10.5 this time. So I don't know. It's interesting. Definitely would be a different direction, that's for sure. So it feels like, though, the thing is with Pokemon, although they've got some predictability to it, it's still so new compared to just the longevity of how. Hold on, let me try and better articulate what I'm trying to say. Basically, what I'm trying to say here is, for how long Pokemon has been around at this point, it still feels so new because of the volatility compared to the length of the entire like history of Pokemon. Like, obviously you had an insane amount of demand when the Pokemon IP first came out, but during 2008 to like 2016, nothing really happened. You had a little bit of volatility during evolutions, and then it kind of died down until the start of 2020 and 2021 because of COVID. So we're kind of in a weird like new phase of the hobby where we're seeing so much more volatility than we have historically, is what I guess I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
Because I remember before, dude, back in the day, like I watched some old video of this guy named Pokey Soup. Shout out to him. He does like vintage pack openings of the Diamond and Pearl era. And he was like, yeah, man, I bought this Majestic Dawn booster box. Dude, they're getting up there now. They're expensive. It's like 180 a box. And it was like in 2016 when he opened the video. And so the boxes at the time were going into the 70s. And so 180 over the span of like what it came out in 2008. So, and it took 8 years for it to go double above wholesale.
Yeah.
That's like in this hobby, like at this time, that happens in a year. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
But there's
like,
other instances. Like, I mean, like when I got back in 2015, a base set box was $800. So that was like 10x from 1999. So it 10x in like, a matter of 15 years.
well, I guess that's what I'm trying to say though.
Like, I
Is
mean,
like,
so some things were growing.
but I guess what I'm trying to say is the volatility nowadays compared to back then, it feels so much more like it feels so crazy for
Yeah.
modern, right?
Well, yeah,
Like,
it's because it's out of the gate now. Like, it's just like before it used to have to go through 2-3 years before it even started to grow.
yeah. Oh, 100%. So, I mean, man, you had sets sit in the Sun and Moon era. It's so funny seeing like the sentiment shift now with Sun and Moon, whereas like no one wanted team up when it first came out. Everyone thought the Latios card looked dumb. Like you had blisters just on the shelf, like casually. Cosmic was not even like, I don't know, $100.
I pulled that card and sold it because I didn't like it.
Yeah, did you actually?
I opened my first Sun and Moon box. I pulled that card. I'm like, oh, this is the hit. This goofy card. Sold it
Yeah.
here for like $30-$40 or something stupid.
Dude, the test tube Mewtwo for like shining.
No, I've always loved
Legend,
that card from day one.
dude, everyone hated that card. People
No
like,
way.
dude, it was
That was the best, dude.
Dude, you had literally Shining Legends on clearance in Walmart rollback for $35. Like it was literally they were doing the I don't know if
my friend still had a UPC with the clearance sticker of $39.99 on it.
Nice. Dude,
Yeah.
they had the Shining Legends pin collections, like one with the like Ho-Oh and the Celebi or whatever.
Yeah, so
and you would put them together and it was you would buy both of them, but it was the price of one of them. So it was even cheaper than wholesale. So like, dude, Shining Legends was crazy cheap. But yeah, I don't know.
Yep.
The market shifted, but shout out to RNG Games. It's not a question, but we feasting out here, baby. Hopefully all is well with you.
That was when you were talking about the Tarkir collector boxes.
Oh, is that
I saw him post that.
Yeah, no, Tarkir, we had an amazing release for Tarkir. I mean, our pre-release was, to be fair, our pre-release was fun because they did it a little bit differently where they gave like I think it was 5 different like boxes that had different colors and you got a bunch of themes that you could play with it. And it was a much more fun of a release compared to what we've done with like Aether Drifter, like Duskmorn. And yeah, and I think as well too, like we kind of said, dragons are just like everyone loves dragons, right? Dragons just sell so well. Question: I have $1,500. If you had to pick between the two, would you rather buy one ES or a case of surging boosters?
Right now,
That's what
like
he
right
said.
this very second,
Probably evolving.
dude. I think it has to be evolving just because surging has got to be the top, like one of the top candidates for a reprint right now.
Yeah, it's much more in the cards. Evolving is going to perform better just because surging will
And
get
these are all
reprinted.
time frames. Like it's just time
Yeah.
frames all change these things, you know.
Yeah. If you asked me in a year and they didn't reprint it or they did, wouldn't really change.
Yeah, I mean, because here's the thing: it's just like, what if surging gets reprinted down to like 180, 200, and then it like in the next year or two it doubles to 400. Say in 2 years it doubles to 400. You doubled your money, but at the same time it's just like you're only up $150 a box really from what you got it now. Whereas like evolving, it could double in that same time frame and be 2,600.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, I've after seeing what happened with Team Up and Flashfire, it's hard to it's hard to ride off evolving, man.
Yeah, 100%. All right, we're gonna go rapid fire here. I feel like we already talked about this, but
Everyone loves Brilliant Stars, apparently. Guys, this is like our third question about Brilliant. Go buy Brilliant Stars. Everyone's on it. Apparently that's like the biggest thing. Buy it. I don't know what else to tell you.
What do you think, though? What's yours, I guess, right now?
Huh? What's up?
What's yours right now, though? Because he's saying Brilliant is his opinion. What's
Oh, my
yours?
bad. I don't think I have one, man. I would say if the prismatic reprint really comes and it's as big as like Danny Fan, some of the other guys are acting like it is, and it really drops under $100, I would say that's probably your best pickup of any time right now is going to be prismatic ETBs under $100. I think that's gonna be one of the biggest of the era. If you can get your hands on any of these bundles that apparently are more plentiful elsewhere than here, 151 bundles, that'd be a good one. Also, with celebrations rising and going into the next anniversary, I think those UPCs might actually be a little cheap right now because like celebrations ETBs rose, like other celebrations products is rising, but the UPCs aren't really much more than they were freaking 2-3 years ago. So like maybe the UPCs and that like gold medal Charizard Pikachu, that stuff, maybe that's a little undervalued. So like those are some of my plays I'd be looking at.
Interesting. I'll have to look that up. I think you don't always have to have your money in something. And so my answer is right now, cash is my favorite investment currently, because I think that there's going to be some obviously not financial advice. This is all what my hypothesis is. I think there's going to be some big plays coming up over the next 6 months to a year. And
I changed my answer. I want Eli's answer.
Yeah. I think for me, like Alex was saying, depending upon what happens here with Prismatic or what happens here with Destined, like there's going to be some sets that you're going to be able to get for a cheap price, in my opinion, compared to what we usually would see the market price be for the items.
It was the secret option that wasn't on the list.
Dude, I freaking just door number 5.
Secret hide the cash in the mattress option.
Dude, door number 5, you didn't even see it. You're right, though. Celebrations, though, honestly, it is selling for $450. And if you look at the yearly chart on it, it's literally like been sitting forever at around the low 4s.
So, well, and then you look at the ETBs and they've been doing nothing but rising. And it's just like, well, why isn't the UPC seeing any of this boom? It's weird.
Probably because it's such an expensive product, I guess. I don't know. That's a good question.
Yeah, because like
you're right.
Gosh, in the last 6 months, the ETB went from 83 and now it's selling for like the mid 130s. And I'm just like, man, the UPC is not seeing any of that growth.
Yeah, no, it's weird. Magic 8-ball question probably. Which set will reach 1,000 first, Surging or Destined?
Well, Destined might come out at 300, so that's 1K first. 1K.
Reach 1,000.
1K.
1K. Yeah.
Dude, this is the ridiculousness of this hobby.
I know.
Like, we've got one set at 1K in the past like 5 years. That's evolving skies. Like, dude, we're so far away from that. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe prismatic ETBs will get there before. I don't know.
Do specialty set PC ETBs have a ceiling since there's no booster box?
Dude, didn't we talk about that one week?
We went into PC ETBs
Yeah, I
forever.
think there's dude. I don't get it. I think there's got to be a tipping point where people start saying, I can put all this money into something, a bunch of other collectibles. Like, I don't understand it. The PCTVs have already went far beyond what I thought was possible. I think we're hitting ceilings. I think anywhere in the mid to high hundreds is pretty much a ceiling for the time being on a lot of PCTVs. I think, it's just this craze that happened. And I think it is going to cool off. People are going to realize they're going to like splash water on their face and be like, wait a second. This is just a stamped promo and an ETB with 9 or 11 packs. Like, what else can I buy for $800 or $600? I think it's getting crazy.
Yeah, no, I think that I have, I mean, you go watch my older content. Like, it's probably my most viewed video at this point. My top 10 pickups going into 2022. And the item that I had always referenced the most was I thought PC ETBs were going to be huge. And I still believe they're obviously huge and more so now with the promos. But I could have never imagined we'd be talking $600 to $1,000 as like people wanting that to be like where they get to. I don't know if I necessarily see that. At least in the short term, right? I don't think the volatility is going to be nearly as high compared to booster boxes, even if it is a specialty one. But that's just me personally. Because like celebrations, to your point, like celebrations, I don't know if you remember, but like my two biggest hits that I would argue I've ever had as far as investments go, that I've called on the channel were celebrations and Crown Zenith specialty PC ETBs. And I called this back when like people were not as big into PC ETBs as they are now. And I cashed out most of my celebrations PC ETBs at around like 120 a pop. Now they're obviously at 200, but it took like 3 years before they finally moved again. They were sitting at 110 for several years. So I feel like it can go sideways for a while. Like,
here's
it
the
really
thing. I'm gonna get roasted for this, and I don't care. Like, if it was a stock market, I would short them right now. Like, I would be shorting a lot of these. Like, I came when I was like getting serious in the hobby. I remember when stamped promos and staff promos from pre-release kits, those were like the rage. You remember that?
Oh, 100%.
And it's just almost like a furthering of that. It's just like, I think people really got on the stamped bandwagon, and because it's not unique. There's nothing unique here, right? We've had stamped cards before that are limited, and we've also had, they're the same exact art worth, nothing more than a stamp on it. And it's the same way that stamp promos were and staff pre-releases were. It was always, and so it's just like those that they really fell out of, out of the limelight, and they've went really like, I was stagnant, no real movement, a lot of dropped. And if I had to place a bet on the next 1, 2, 3 years, I think that time will eventually come where, yes, scarcity will always keep a certain value on them. There'll always be some sort of a chase. But I think eventually the masses will start to move away and say, yeah, there's tons of scarce things in the hobby, though. There's tons of value to be had. It's literally, it's an ETB with a similar to same artwork. And it's the same exact promo, just a stamp. And I truly think, in my opinion, again, I could be completely wrong, and we can laugh at me in 2, 3 years when I'm wrong, but I could see it moving away to something more unique, better value, better bang for your buck.
Have you seen the price, by the way, of the team up booster boxes and what they're selling for in TCG Player?
Yeah. That tells me Evolving Skies has a long way to go.
I know. That makes me feel as if Evolving Skies, going back to the first part, is just like so good. It's such a good pickup still. Team Up, for those of you guys that haven't seen it, last sold for $5,500. And then the prior sale before that was $4,500, then $39.99, and then $3,750. So those are the last 4 sales going back to the end of last year.
Yeah, and Alex put a good question. He said, Alex, you feel the same about first edition stamps? It's just a stamp, nothing unique special about it.
Print runs
honestly,
honestly,
well, there was a lot of data. I did videos. I used to do videos on it where I showed the data. Actually, people cared more about condition than they did stamps. A lot of PSA 10 unlimited cards actually would sell more for than PSA 9 first edition cards, meaning people actually value condition over stamps. So yeah, I mean, even for vintage people, it's stamps are not the most important thing, really. I mean, yeah, first edition base is different, but like there's a lot of jungle cards that are actually more expensive as PSA 10s than they are first ed PSA 9s. I mean, it just shows you like what's more important. It's condition, right?
Stamp only matters when it comes to scarcity. That's it. There was much more jungle first ed compared to jungle unlimited than there was first ed base compared to unlimited base.
Yeah.
They had so much unlimited base that they printed. All right. We'll do 2 more questions and we'll get out of here. Ballpark, what are you looking to buy DR at?
Dude, I was eyeing like 250-ish, but now this new Team Rocket release, or this Mewtwo's Giovanni's Mewtwo release has everyone hyped again. I mean, dude, I don't know. Maybe it is going to be $300 box at release. I'm starting to kind of have a different thought. Maybe it is going to stay up there now that everyone's hyped again. By the way, I'm not investing in any of these prices.
100%.
Because
here's wait, Alex.
Well, here, I'm not going to wait. I'll just miss out.
I know.
Right? Like, I
know.
I'm more okay with not having a position than losing money. I don't, you know, look, you can miss out on plays all day and be a successful investor, right? You can't lose money all day and be a successful investor. And so for me, I'm always more okay with missing out than I am losing money. And if I feel like there's a higher probability of losing money than making money, and in my point of view, the risk analysis doesn't make sense, I just won't do it. And I'd rather miss out and say, oh, you should have bought, than get in and be like, oh, I wish I wouldn't have bought. Now I'm down, 30%, and it's going to take me this long to get my money back. And now I have all this money sitting there I could have put somewhere else. And I got to try a dollar cost average, take on larger positions than I wanted to. It turns into a mess. Where it's just like you said, I'll just hold cash, and there's going to be tons of opportunities open up here or there, whether it's 151, Prismatic, a new set, Destined Rivals reprint, a Surging Sparks reprint. There's going to be plays open up. I don't need to be in every play in this bull market.
Yeah. I think Destined is a position I will eventually hold at some point, but like Alex said, not at these prices. Because ultimately, especially with the announcement Pokemon made, if you recall, the last time Pokemon made an announcement like this was back in 2021. They made it 6 months before they printed everything into the ground, part of the alternate art era at the time. So for me, I feel like there's going to be some items that are going to get printed here. Destin is going to get printed here. We'll see what it affects on the price, but that's when I'm more than likely going to double dip into that position, because I'm looking at it and saying to myself, okay, let's say it runs up for whatever reason to 400 and then they print it again and it goes down to like 250. I'll pick it up then. But that's just because at that point, I'm confident more so that, all right, we've already seen a print of this. It's going to feel much safer for me to dollar cost average then than out the gate when we don't know how much they're going to come out the gate with, right? That's just too risky.
Yeah, I just think that's going to be the theme of 2025 is there's either a better play out there or there is a better play that will be out there, and it makes sense to have cash. And this might not even just be Pokemon, right? This may be the stock market. This may be the housing market. Maybe the houses come down. Maybe interest rates drop a great deal. Like, obviously Pokemon too. Like, there are going to be things on sale at some point this year, in my opinion. And they already are in some circumstances that I don't think, everyone always talks about not having cash, right? Cash is trash, and you're going to lose it to inflation, all that BS. That's BS, right? In these markets, you want to have money on the sidelines to take advantage of significant moves to either way that you can, kind of jump the line on, that you can sort of time the market. I know everyone's like against timing the market, but these are the times where you can actually time the market if you do have cash available, because there are going to be deals open up.
Oh, sorry. I'm just reading some of the comments. It's so funny. People love drama. Someone's asking how my facial hair routine is too. It's crazy. Mason,
these are the hard-hitting questions that the fans must know.
Hard-hitting questions. Shout out to Mason, though, for being in the chat. He said Final Fantasy is going to be wild. Yep. Final Fantasy will be wild. Here's a good last question. I like this one as our final question. When will vintage finally return as king, or is it too late for the grandpa cards?
I think overall it's too late. I think if you're wanting vintage, you gotta stick with the highest of high end. Vintage is going to turn into just kind of like the whales and the high income, high net worth individuals. And they want the rarest of rare, the best of condition, and they want the most popular species. And so you're not going to want to do this thing where oh, I can't afford a 10, but I can afford a 7. Or, oh, I can't afford the Charizard, but I can, maybe buy the Hitmonchan or the Chansey. Or, I wouldn't go digging deep in sets trying to get like a quantity of cards, or I wouldn't, lower your threshold to like PSA 6 and 7 and all that. I would stay at the top tier conditions of the top tier species in, the top tier sets that people actually want. And I would just get, quantity over or quality over quantity. Get the few you can afford if you are wanting to go the vintage route. Because I think a lot of those will do, like, there will be a good amount of vintage do well over time. I think a lot will.
What's the name of the website that allows you to look up like eBay prices that were bartered? Do you remember what the name of the site is?
What is it?
It's a website on it's a website that tells you like the last sold listing for a price. If it was, because you know how on eBay, if you go to last sold listings, it shows like it crossed out, meaning it sold for lower.
It's actually eBay.
What's the name of the website though?
No, it's actually on eBay.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So if you go to your eBay selling portal,
I go to my selling portal.
Yeah. So if you go to eBay and you go to like my eBay and click selling, it's research, product research. You click that, and that's where you can type it in and find what a card or item went for.
Interesting.
Yeah, and it'll actually tell you what it actually sold for. So yeah, it's all through eBay now. It's really easy. Yeah, it used to be through an alternative third-party site.
Yeah, it was like 30 point or something. I can't remember.
Yeah, 130 point, like Retro said.
130 point. I'm actually curious. I'm still gonna look up one.
Did we lose you? Guys, we lost Eli. I'm going to have to hold down the stream. He fell into the 130 point multiverse. R.I.P. Eli.
What it's saying.
Oh, there he is. Hey, you're back. Hold on. You got froze. You just got back.
Oh, I froze?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Okay, what were you saying?
No, what I was saying was I was just trying to check the accuracy of it compared to 130 point, because I don't know. Like for example, let me see if I can find the exact listing on 130 point.
What are you looking for?
Okay, yeah. So it looks like it is. You're right. It is showing it because I'm looking at a listing right now that was on March 19th and it sold for 18,500. But there's other listings if you go to 130 point that are on March 25th for 12,000. That are on other dates in March before that 18,500 sale. So I don't know. I'm trying to just come up and see what the price point right now is for jungle boosters, because I remember like a year ago jungle boosters were going for right around like 910, and it's finally starting to go up again. But also if you look at how team up has performed, this sounds like a crazy thing to say, but in like the next 5 to 10 years, how likely is it team up will just pass jungle?
Well, this is the argument I have with everyone that wants to argue vintage with me, right? And
it's crazy.
Everyone wants to argue this fact that, like, they'll like give me like they'll try like throw little shots like they got me or something. Like, Alex, have you seen vintage? Look at this move and look at this. And I'm just like, have you not seen every modern item and card outperforming vintage by leaps and bounds? Like, it's still winning. I mean, here's the thing, guys. Like he said, jungle, what it's selling for, what base sets box is now getting for. We are just now getting to the point that I sold my vintage boxes for back in 2021. It took 4 years for them to recover at what I sold them for 4 years ago. Do you know how much I've done with that money in modern in that same time period? It's not even close. It's not even close. Like, And so, and then even this last year, it's like people will share like this random vintage like PSA auction. I'm just like, I'll share them like a 151 Charizard or a Bubble Mew or, you know, something. It's just like, it's not even close. The percentage gains in modern are still so much better than your average percentage gains in vintage. It just doesn't make sense. It's like, it's less liquid. It's harder to find a buyer for those kind of items. There's more, especially with sealed, there's more risk of tampering, resealing, and things going on than there are modern boxes and cases because they're not at that level of expense yet. So I'd rather have like a quantity of modern than I would like one vintage box. Like there's just so many more benefits to modern. And so, yeah, vintage will do well, but I still don't think it's going to do better. In fact, it isn't doing better still.
I think for me, the big thing is people
Again, this is all financial terms. So like if it's something you want to collect too, then absolutely get it. It'll probably continue to rise in value. But in terms of like the best possible place, I still think modern will appreciate more in the years to come.
Well, what I was going to say was, I think what you're starting to see more is people look at like vintage and they're like, oh my God, look, it went from 10,000 to 20,000. And they see that from a like nominal perspective. They're like, oh my God, look at the dollar increase. But in reality, that's just a 100% rate of return. Like if you break it down that way, right? Like if you have a booster box that goes from 10,000 to 20,000, or you have a booster box that goes from 100 to 200 and you bought the same amount. So you bought $10,000 worth of that box, you're going to have the same exact rate of return. So you're seeing that much more significantly occur within modern. It's just in much more incremental numbers compared to, you know, vintage, but you're making the same return. Right.
Yeah, I mean things like Team Up, dude. Like what? How many years ago is that now? Like 3 years or 2 years? It was like $700 box.
Man, that's a good point.
I mean, you're getting to the point of like 700-800% gains. Like there's not a vintage thing you can name right now in the last 3 years that's went up 700-800%. Like 700-800%. It's not even close.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of ones.
You know, even Evolving Skies, like Evolving Skies is up in like a year and a half. It's up like 200%. Like, where are you seeing these gains with vintage?
No, evolving is so safe. Like I said before, I'm gonna start liquidating like some of my position as my continued like limited space becomes a prevalent issue with my collecting, and putting it into things like evolving, because it's just feels so safe in terms of it as an investment, and it's going to take up way less space compared to the price of the box.
Yeah. Now, again, when like collection comes into play, like you just want it in your collection, well, then it's still, that's where I say vintage still makes sense to buy, because do I think a lot of that stuff is going to continue to rise in value? Of course. Great collection piece. It'll probably hold value, continue to appreciate in value. It's still a great pickup. It's just, if you're like trying to compete, like people try to compete with me, it's just like, dude, I can name you 100 modern, you know, things that perform better than this random, you know, PSA 10 auction you're sharing of some vintage card, or this random booster box that went up from like base set booster boxes were like 10K and now they're, you know, 20K again or 22K. It's just like, that's like every Scarlet Violet era box in the last year. Every one of them doubled in price. Well, that's not cool. Like, that's not good. You know, it's just average.
Right. All right. Got any other questions you want to answer before we wrap on out of here? Or is that it?
That's it, man. That's it.
Cool. All right. Well, that was it for the stream then, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you guys all so much once again for stopping by. Make sure you leave a like, comment down below, and subscribe to the YouTube channel. It really helps out the algorithm. Check out Alex and all of his content. Link is down in the description below for that. And as always, want to stay up to date on all things Pokemon USA, or got any questions about how you can get into the wholesale program when a spot opens up, link down in the description below for Discord for that. But thank you guys all so much once again for supporting the channel and stopping by. Hopefully you guys all have a wonderful rest of your week, and we will see you guys Tuesday. Peace.